I think Republicans have been unwilling, for whatever reason, reluctant, resistant to voting early and voting by mail. Do they have to get over that reluctance, that resistance?
Sure. Look, I mean, you have to play the game by the rules that are existing. That means, for example, if you want Generation Z voters, you've got to be on TikTok, even if, in fact, in the long run, we may abolish TikTok as a Chinese communist device.
A Chinese communist device. Maybe we will. Newt Gingrich there with Sean Hannity talking about ways that they can maybe start winning an election or two here and there, which, by the way, they still win those things. And actually, they're still pretty close, even the ones that they lose. So calm down. But they're wondering, early voting, mail-in voting? This whole concept, why haven't we been doing it? Can we figure out why we haven't been doing it? Before we get to that tough equation that they're trying to figure out, Charlie Kirk also wondered the same thing. Yeah, Charlie Kirk, that guy, watch him.
Incorrectly, that if you take time to watch this program, thank you, that you would also just automatically vote. Turns out there's a fair portion of you that are completely done and that are willing to voice that opinion. I just want to say, I do sympathize with being upset with the Republican Party and not totally trusting the system. But not participating at all guarantees the other side to be able to play games. And if everything was broken and lost, how did we win the House of Representatives? If everything is broken and lost, how did Ron Johnson, who stood up against the pharmaceutical company, win in Wisconsin? If everything was broken and lost, how did Ron DeSantis win by 17 votes? The MAGA movement is committing suicide in front of our very eyes because and if you extrapolate that means and we see it in the numbers, we see it in the data, millions of people that have said we are no longer going to vote.
Did you know that there's some guy who told us not to vote? Did you figure this out? Did you guys know that someone's been sabotaging and saying that early voting and mail-in voting is fraudulent and you shouldn't touch it because that's totally un-American? Instead, you should just attack and bitch and complain all the time. That's how you get into office? Because I can't figure out who that guy was. Because Charlie Kirk is sitting there trying to figure out why people have been saying these things. The MAGA movement has been committing suicide. Who's the head of that MAGA movement? They still won't say it. I'll show you, watch.
So you were highly critical of mail-in voting, mail-in ballots for voting.
I think mail-in voting is horrible.
You voted.
Thousands and thousands of people sitting in somebody's living room signing ballots all over the place. Mail-in voting is a terrible thing. I think if you vote, you should go. And even the concept of early voting is not the greatest because a lot of things happen, but it's okay. But you should go and you should vote. I think you should go and you should vote. You look at what they do, where they grab thousands of mail-in ballots and they dump it. There's a lot of dishonesty going along with mail-in voting.
A whole lot of dishonesty with that mail-in voting thing. Fine, that's just the former president of the United States. It's the leader of the Republican Party still. Charlie Kirk doesn't say things like that. He's trying to get you guys out of this mindset, previous to how he was keeping you in that mindset. Watch that.
We're seeing these issues happen and pop up all across America, but we are not trying to deter you. We're trying to actually this should make you want to vote more and bring more people out to the polls. But you must be vigilant. No complaining. You got to stay in line. You got to stay focused. You got to go through the entire line. And if your ballot is rejected more than twice by the machine, then you have to spoil that ballot and you got to go through the process all over again. And you might be there for an hour. You might be there for 2 hours. Now, Jack, I believe this is all part of Katie Hobbs' voter suppression. I really do. I think this is a voter suppression operation to try to stop Republicans from voting.
I'm just looking for answers, Miranda. I don't understand why all these conservatives decided not to vote early, decided not to vote by mail, and decided to keep thinking that these elections are fraudulent. Where did they get this information from?
All I hear when I watch these videos is, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. And I know I say this like every day about the Republicans, but if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And it's astonishing to me that they're astonished that they told Republicans not to vote by mail and not to vote early, and they fear-mongered about it. And then when they listened, like good little voters, now they're mad at them. They're like, why did you do what I told you to do? How dare you do that? I mean, if you fearmonger about voting by mail and a rigged election system, they're not going to vote. you can't be mad at them because they did what you told them to do.
I wonder if they realize it, or if it's really what they think is an awakening moment. They're like, did you know? It's like everybody's been telling you that. In fact, people that told you that, you called never Trumpers, you called Trump derangement syndrome, you called un-American, all this stuff. Now suddenly you're saying the same thing with this enlightened mindset, and now we should listen to you now. I mean, maybe they're voters. No one actually with a full thought process actually listened to these folks, but they just came up with it somehow themselves, and now they want to tell the good news. Bro, it's already been out there. We already knew. Calm down. Marjorie Taylor Greene's mad about it too, but who cares? She's always mad, but she wants it to be about herself. We'll skip that part. I like the irony of them thinking they've come up with this new approach and maybe they'll win next time. We'll see if they actually follow through on it, because it's not looking so good right now.